The small roadside cafe stood at the edge of the research colony on the far side of the Kalira moon. Most travelers came for warm food, quiet chairs, and a short break from the long corridors and glowing labs of the human settlement. The cafe was simple, with soft yellow lights, wooden tables sent from Earth, and a small upright piano near the window that almost no one touched. The staff liked to joke that the piano was more decoration than instrument. The waitress named Lyra worked there every day. She carried trays, took orders, cleaned tables, and greeted travelers with a steady smile. Most knew her as the quiet one who moved with calm hands and gentle steps. She kept her hair tied back and her uniform neat. No one ever thought she had any hidden talent. No one asked. Across the colony, humans were growing in number, exploring the moon and studying the strange energy currents that flowed below its surface. The work demanded long hours, so the cafe became the main gathering point. It was a place to rest before heading back out to study the glowing fields or map the deep caverns. People from supply ships, security lines, and science labs came in every day. Among them were 3 young researchers. They sat at the same table each evening. Their names were Rin, Talon, and Mira. They were known for their confidence and jokes. Most days they laughed louder than anyone else in the cafe. They believed they knew everything worth knowing about the colony. And they believed they could judge anyone with a glance. That day, the 3 of them arrived tired from long testing in the radio lab. Rin dropped into the chair and stretched with a sigh. Talon rubbed his eyes. Mira scanned the menu even though she ordered the same thing each time. Lyra approached with her small notepad, giving her usual warm greeting. Rin looked up at her and smiled in his playful way. He asked if they could get their usual drinks. Lyra wrote it down with quiet speed and walked toward the counter. When she left, Talon leaned closer to the others. He had noticed the piano by the window. That old instrument had been sitting there for years. No one played it because most people on the colony were too busy or too tired to think about music. It seemed more like a memory of Earth than a real part of the cafe. Talon whispered that anyone who played it today would be doing the colony a favor. They joked that the place needed some life. Mira laughed softly and asked who among them could actually play. None of them could. It would sound terrible if they tried. Then Rin looked back at Lyra and smiled with a teasing spark in his eyes. He said maybe the quiet waitress could try. Mira raised a brow, half amused, half curious. Talon shook his head and said Lyra was far too calm and shy to ever sit at that piano. They imagined her clumsy hands fumbling across the keys. They pictured strange notes ringing out. They chuckled among themselves. When Lyra returned with their drinks, she set the tray down with steady hands. Then she paused because she heard Rin call her name gently. He asked her if she could do them a small favor. His voice carried that same playful tone that suggested he expected nothing serious to follow. Lyra tilted her head, unsure. Rin nodded toward the piano and asked if she could play for them. The way he asked made it clear he thought the idea was funny. Talon and Mira grinned at each other. They did not think she would say yes. They believed she had no reason to even try. They expected a shy laugh or a quick refusal. But Lyra surprised them. She did not look embarrassed. She did not look nervous. She simply asked if they truly wanted to hear something. Her voice was soft but steady. It held no fear. Rin blinked in mild confusion. Mira leaned back, now curious for real. Talon shrugged and nodded. Lyra wiped her hands on her apron and walked toward the piano. No one else in the cafe paid attention at first. Most were busy with their meals or conversations. But the 3 researchers followed her with wide eyes. She lifted the piano cover with slow care. The keys looked clean but well-aged. She sat down on the narrow bench. For a moment, she rested her hands on her lap. She took a quiet breath. A few people nearby began to notice the sound of silence around her. Then she placed her fingers on the keys. The first note was soft and clear. It rang through the room with gentle warmth. People turned their heads. The second note followed, then a third, weaving into a melody that filled every corner of the cafe. It was calm at first, like the sound of a distant wind. Then it grew stronger, carrying a rhythm that felt full of hope. Rin sat still, stunned. Talon's grin faded into amazement. Mira brought a hand to her mouth, unable to look away from Lyra Dot. As the melody grew richer, it revealed something rare on the colony. There was depth in her playing, a full breath of emotion that seemed connected to Earth itself. It carried memories from a world filled with forests, oceans, and sunlight. People listening felt as though the piano had opened a window into their distant home. More customers stopped, eating, and turned their chairs. The cafe owner stepped out from the kitchen and paused mid-stride. Even the older man reading a digital book near the door lowered his device, staring at Lyra as though seeing her for the first time. The melody shifted. It lifted higher, then drifted into a soft pattern that felt almost like the glowing currents beneath the moon. Lyra played with a calm confidence that surprised everyone. It was as if she understood some quiet truth that most had forgotten. The notes moved like flowing light. The colony had known many challenges. Harsh weather, long hours of study, uncertain results in their research about the strange energy that filled the moon. Many had begun to lose hope that they would find anything meaningful. But Lyra's music reminded them of why humans traveled so far. It reminded them of their curiosity, courage, and ability to create beauty even in distant places. The song grew quieter again, as if guiding the listeners into their own thoughts. Some people closed their eyes. Others leaned forward, their hearts softening. The melody wrapped around them like a gentle embrace. Even Rin, who was known for his sharp jokes, felt a strange warmth rise in his chest. His eyes grew damp for a moment, though he quickly wiped them dry as Lyra played. Something unusual happened in the cafe windows. The faint shimmering of the moon's energy currents seemed to pulse gently in response to the rhythm. It was subtle, soft like the glow of fireflies. People near the window whispered in awe. The currents had never reacted to anything inside the colony before. Scientists in the room looked at the glow with fascination. If the currents were responding to sound, then music might be a new way to study the moon's nature. The idea rushed through their minds with excitement, but Lyra seemed unaware of the glow. She was lost in her playing, her hands moving with natural grace. Her face held a peaceful focus. Each note she played felt full of understanding, as if she could hear a path through the silence of the moon. When the final note drifted into stillness, no one moved. The quiet that followed felt almost sacred. Then a wave of warm applause filled the cafe. It grew louder as more people joined, until the entire room echoed with clapping. Lyra stood slowly, almost shy now. Her cheeks carried a faint blush. She gave a polite bow. The applause softened into smiles and warm voices calling out praise. Some asked if she could play again. Others asked how long she had practiced. The cafe owner, wiping his eyes discreetly, asked why she had never shared her gift before. Lyra simply said she loved music, but never wanted to bother anyone. She had learned from a family member long ago on Earth, before coming to the colony. She only played in private during her breaks. She never thought anyone would want to listen. Rin rose from his seat and approached her. He looked humbled. He told her her music had awakened something in everyone there. Talon nodded, admitting they had been wrong to assume she had no hidden depth. Myra placed a hand over her heart and said the melody felt like a message from Earth. Lyra smiled warmly, but quietly. She was grateful they listened not as the next days passed. Word spread across the colony about the waitress who played the old piano. Scientists visited the cafe not just for food, but to hear her play again. Some brought recording devices to study the way the moon's currents responded to her music. The glow had not been a random event. The currents pulsed gently each time she played certain patterns. This discovery changed the tone of the research colony. For months they had struggled to understand the moon's quiet energy. Now the music offered a new path. Humans had always been creative, able to connect with the unknown in surprising ways. Lyra's gift reminded them that progress was not always measured by machines. Sometimes it came from the heart. Rin, Talon, and Mera continued to sit at their usual table, but their behavior changed. They no longer laughed at Lyra or anyone else. They greeted her with respect. They encouraged others to appreciate her talent as well. Lyra became a symbol of the colony's spirit, not because she sought attention, but because she shared something pure. Her music reminded the settlers that every human carried something valuable, even if it stayed hidden for a long time. Soon the colony held a small gathering to celebrate their harmony. They placed lanterns around the cafe and invited people from nearby outposts. Lyra agreed to play again. When she sat at the piano that night and touched the keys, the melody flowed like light across the room. The moon's currents shimmered outside as if dancing gently with her notes. Humans from the colony felt their spirits lift. They remembered why they explored the stars. They remembered their unity.